Advanced philosophy memes. We make good memes. Advanced philosophy memes. Base fucking memes. Advanced philosophy memes. We make good memes. Advanced philosophy memes. Base fucking memes. Shoutouts to Andreas, Declan, my boy Scott, Pedro, and everyone else that engages on my posts. It's Sarah. Keep it up, man. You'll get there someday. And everyone else for playing memes. Philosophy memes. We make good memes. Advanced philosophy memes. Base fucking memes.
Have you guys noticed how everyone in Congress is kind of hot now? Like,
Well, that's because they're getting younger, man.
yeah. I mean, Kurt, did you hear this? Did you agree? Do you agree do you agree?
Who?
We should don't tell him what we said. Don't tell him. Do you agree? Do you agree? You do, right? Don't tell him what we said. Okay. Good. So like in Congress, Kurt, do you think that they're getting prettier? Sorry.
Congress?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, objectively, there's more women than there were in the past.
That's true too.
That should be reflective of the way American society is. We're definitely getting outnumbered, boys. There's just so many women all everywhere.
Well, I mean,
I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
true. I was just kind
I
of.
feel like boys like to make their own clubs. You know, they're like, I'll just start my own treehouse, right? And like maybe there's a logic to having women in administration. Like the word economics means running of the house. Maybe like to sustain a system, having women involved with it is like the appropriate time and place. Like if you do think that there's, I don't know, Andrew, what are you about to say?
Nothing. I was gonna ask you to pull up a old picture of Nancy Pelosi.
Like a picture of her old or like a
Her
young
young,
picture?
a young picture of her.
She's hot.
The picture is old, but
I think she's hotter when she's old. I think.
well, she does have that rich look in her eyes, you know.
Rich, yes.
The
The adrenochrome glow.
This isn't young enough. How young do you have to go? Wait, there we go. Is this it? This is pretty decent. Is this her with Kennedy? I'll take it. There we go.
Nice.
And I
Miss
didn't mean,
Pelosi?
I'm just being like, here you go with her and Kennedy, right? Like,
Oh, she's a
Yeah,
little
look at
cutie
her.
pie.
Yeah.
she's like a Mickey Mouse, Disney eyes kind of. I
Audrey
don't know.
Hepburn,
Technically, she kind of
kinda.
freaks me out. I wouldn't be into it. I'd be like, this girl is a vegan. I don't know. There's something scary about.
She
the
looks
energy.
like a horse
stare.
girl, like super into horses.
Yeah, like not like a horse face, not Sarah Jessica Parker, like someone who likes to ride horses.
Yeah, yeah, like that's what I meant, like a equestrian. Like,
Exactly. Yeah, like a Connecticut. How would you even? How
a
do they say
waspy,
that?
all-time
Yeah, just a
waspy,
wasp. A wasp.
all-time waspy hobby.
White Anglo-Saxon psychopath.
Yeah, horses are scary. Maybe we shouldn't be riding them. I mean, we do owe them a huge debt of gratitude, but maybe horses.
Bro,
Just,
haven't you realized that the horse are into it? Like, clearly. Like
Yeah.
horses love it, dude. They do.
They're scary, man. They're scary animals. I feel like they could eat a human if they really wanted to.
I guess. I don't know. I'd have to like look into their stomachs. Is that like a thing? Can horses, if like push to shove?
I
If
mean,
they
they
had
could
to?
bite your fingers off, but I don't know if they could actually like masticate our whole body down.
Yeah, right? That seems like a lot of work. I don't know if it'd be
Yeah.
worth it. Yeah, like that's the reason why they eat lots of grass. Horses are chill. Dee brought up earlier that she felt bad for horses because, or imagined how bad it would be to like 100 years ago have to go to work and wake up your horse at 5 a.m. instead of your car. Like to heat up your car is already kind of. But like your horse, dude, that's a bummer because he's like, I don't want to do this. Even like I'm not getting paid. Like, and you're making me go through the snow in the city, like in frozen shite, right?
I guess you're right. They have to be into it on a certain level.
Yeah, that has to be the reason. They're like, I'm so good at being a horse.
Yeah.
It's the only way.
Quick
It's
question.
the apples.
One must
bef-
imagine Sisyphus the horse happy. What? Sorry, Chris.
A couple days back, you sent this whole thing about Donald Trump and his executive pardons from his like last term, I think.
Yeah. 237. We keep hoping the sync will stick. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because like my
The Shining.
my boss was like one of those guys that got pardoned in that commuting run, and it was just so funny. I remember when, because it's not like
What? Which
it's a
guy's
fa-
his name? Show me his picture. And then
I
we're
did.
redoing this for posterity. This is dramatization of this conversation. But
I guess it's not a big secret. I mean, I sent you the whole. There was like a bunch of news articles about
you
him
don't have
because-
to if you don't want to. Actually, it depends. Yeah, if you wanted to not say his name, that would make sense too. Does it? Is it how public is it? Do you want to?
No, I mean it's okay. So I'll tell you his story. Like, regardless of like, if I tell you enough of his story, you could probably just look up the story and then you'll figure it out. So the story goes like this guy. He's a first and foremost, like I don't know if this is relevant, but just to kind of like paint a picture of like the type of guy he is. He was born from like Orthodox Jewish family, and he was raised in like kind of like the suburbs of New York City.
Yeah.
And so fast forward to when he's like a young adult, and the whole thing that got him in federal prison in the first place was the fact that he was into like trafficking massive amounts of marijuana like in and out of the country. And this is like before it was legal, before this is like when it was actually like super duper illegal. And also just smuggling anything, like that's also just whatever it is. If it's off the books, it's like super illegal. So basically it took him, he went through he like dodged an arrest like by going to Canada, then to Israel, then he came back in like '09, and then he got caught, and then he served time in federal prison, and they let him go under house arrest, so he had to wear like an ankle monitor. And that's when I met him, when he was like out on when he was out on house arrest, and he started a business. And it's like it was a completely legitimate business. It was just like for like merchant cash advance, and I was basically like doing the paperwork for him. But I basically like I worked for him when he was like started the company till like when I watched this guy become a fucking millionaire, and I was like it just blew me away. And I never really got into sales. Like I never liked that kind of end of any business really. I just didn't like cold calling. I don't like pitching people. I just didn't like it. So I did a lot of like the administrative work, like all the paperwork and shit. And yeah, it's like there was these periods where he would like go back into prison for like 2 years. So his like family members would run the company, and then he got back out again. And like, and this is the Trump thing. And it was just, it's like such a crazy fucking guy. He's like one of those guys that you're just like, you kind of just want to stick around and just to see what happens to him. Like, it's crazy.
Wow. So basically, he was, he was like a kid who was having fun. Got in like a lot of. It was a really rich kid though that was having fun because he was.
He wasn't rich. He
smuggling.
didn't start rich. His family was just like barely middle class, and he just got out there and
But he
just
was
started
doing smuggling. Okay. Like
yeah, like he started with selling cell phones. Like he used to, because that was like a huge moneymaker back in like early 2000s and late 90s. And I guess he just met certain people through that. And plus, like, I don't know, something about being like Orthodox Jewish, and you get like a lot of connections within the network, So
Yeah,
I guess
fair.
maybe he had that going for him. But yeah, it was interesting that like I looked on the Wikipedia page of all of Trump's pardons, and I was like, let's see if he's on there, and he was. Like, sure enough, I was like, oh, okay, cool.
See, that's not like many people. 273, right? So 237. Sorry, 237. 237. Yeah, 237. The Stanley Kubrick thing. I have to keep remembering. But like, that's not a lot of people to be on a list. I mean, of pardoned people. Lil Wayne's on that list. Dakota Black's on that list. Tiger
Wayne.
Tiger King is not on that list. It seems interesting to me. I want to do a deeper dive into the Trump pardon list and understand them.
I mean, honestly, like that, my boss would be like the closest insight I have on it. But from where I stand, it just straight up seems like you buy that sort of thing. Like if you know,
Well,
like
even still, that's so few people. It just seems like if that's the case, like some presidents do like thousands of pardons, right? Like for a Shining Kubrick reference of amount of pardons is kind of interesting. I just wonder what what is the reason that he picked these particular people. And yeah, it could be just as easy, and people have said this, that Trump, sees everyone as a different shade of green, and that it's all money. And like, if you're able to be at the party, you're probably all right. Like
Yeah,
that kind
yeah.
of a vibe. That could be true. But I think there's probably something also to like the people he picks because of The Apprentice show. He's like, I fire people, and he's a little, dare I say, like psychotic. So like his judgmental, narcissistic, temperamental nature would be why he doesn't choose Tiger King, and why he does choose to pardon Lil Wayne. I mean, there's got to be reasons why he picked these people, right?
I think a lot of it has to do with like, do you have an in with Jared Kushner? Like, if you could get a wire out to Jared Kushner, or like be able to like get in touch with the guy, and you have the resources to make something like that like flow to him and through the proper channels, I think that's pretty
It's
much
called
it.
synagogue, and at shul you just he's very loud. I hear very, very loud. I heard this.
Yeah, but it's like Jared Kushner was he's like a big character apparently, and I mean Lil Wayne though, that's pretty funny.
Yeah,
Isn't
no,
Kodak Black pardoned time too?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Kodak Black is really interesting, and I've been, I don't know. There's like conspiracies about it or whatever. We should start using better words. There's synchronicities about it. That's our new
Yo, speaking of synchronicities, I do know that I was listening to fucking Alex Jones on Tim Dillon, and he mentioned like he was name dropping like self-help authors, like, and then with The Secret, and how Oprah Winfrey heavily endorses The Secret. And apparently Donald Trump is like super duper into manifestation, and
100%.
yeah, I guess like, yeah, he the way he describes like just imagining something and believing it's going to happen and then making it your reality. I was like, oh shit, he's basically talking about manifesting.
He was huge friends with Oprah. It's really confusing, like how he's shocked himself, like at all the people that were his friends hate him. He's like, wait, Oprah? Even Oprah? Like, because yeah, they're all about power manifestation. He's manifested this, it's through the what's the name of that dude? Because he's got like the book from the 50s, The Power of Positive Thinking guy.
There's a lot. This like Goddard or fucking
Is
I
that
don't know.
Manly P. Hall?
Manly P. Hall. There you go.
No, that's the more obvious choice. But there's like a 1952 by Norman Vincent Peale. And Norman Vincent Peale, I've heard, this is the wrong tab somehow. Here we go. Norman Vincent Peale. He waxed on. Trump has waxed on about Norman Vincent Peale. And I think he was introduced to it by his uncle, right? And I think he even saw Norman Vincent Peale speak at some point. And yeah, this guy was all about the power of positive thinking. That's basically.
You're talking about
Leo.
the FBI uncle that was in charge of collecting all of Tesla's documents and stuff?
The one and the same, yeah. And this is
Yeah.
the book cover for The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale, a practical guide to mastering the problems of everyday living.
It's basically self-help stuff. And what's funny about this stuff to me is that like when usually the people to scoff at it are usually like just mediocre, average, like not really, they're basically like haters kind of in a way, because they don't really do anything significant. They're just kind of like assholes about it. But then you look into like guys like fucking, I don't know, Donald Trump or whatever, and or Oprah Winfrey, and they like heavily
Doing all right.
endorsed it. Yeah, they heavily endorsed this shit.
It's straight up secular magic. It's the conversion and rebranding of sigil magic into marketing. And it's like the outcome of that. If you could look at Scientology's Dianetics as sort of this, like the outcome of modern psychology. So positive thinking, you've got the pseudoscience saying, well, we know that things are made up of mass, and so thoughts, we're having thoughts, they must have to do with mass. So these thoughts are magnetic, that kind of etc. It's not necessarily untrue. It's just that power of positive thinking, the problem with it is like, it's not necessarily, people who the way it should be criticized, I think, is this. If people put this much energy into getting money, for instance, right? Money are like
Yes.
symbols of somebody else's face with power, right? So all you're doing is you're building up power. Like you're getting more and more invested in their power.
It's storing economic energy, basically. Like the way the human body stores fat, that's essentially what we do when we save money, is we're storing like financial fat, basically. So when the money itself is toxic, that's like financial diabetes. But I didn't mean to cut you off.
But
That's
no,
basically...
it's just that material, the secret's used to convince people that they can have material and they can have more things. And the problem with that is it ends up being that you're getting controlled by the things you want. You know, you're hypnotized into wanting things instead of what your primordial goals were. And so that's what I think The Secret is used to do. It's like, oh, now you want to buy this car and you want to live this lifestyle because they can convince you, like they can make you into a consumer using The Secret.
Yeah, I was saying, like, it's one of the reason why I have a problem with The Secret. First of all, it's obvious The Secret comes from like a much larger, more multifaceted tradition and like set of teachings. But what they did is they cherry picked, like, I guess the most appealing one to the masses. Like, oh, you know what? I could like sell a lot of books with this and I can make a lot of money. And what's more appealing than the law of attraction, where it's like, oh, you're telling me I just have to like sit there, imagine it, visualize it, and it'll just come back around to me like whatever. But, you know, like if you do get like far enough into it to the point where it's like, I do think that there is potential for you to be like, you know what? Maybe there is something more to this. And then you go on to like bigger shit and you learn more about like your frequency and your state and like your alignment of mind, body, and soul. So it's like all that stuff. And like, yeah, I mean, also I think there's other ways to define it with other traditions, like with Taoism and Qi, and how, like, you know, if you look at advertising, it's basically directing your Qi into something that'll turn into profit for these companies. Like that's the whole point of like selling you shit, right?
I remember being in LA and thinking like, and it's ironic now because I was thinking, man, I bet you when people come to LA, they start wanting things because they see it like on an advertisement of people walking by. Like I'm at the Venice Beach, I see a dude with a skateboard. Now I want a skateboard. Yesterday, I didn't really think I needed a skateboard that badly. I had like an older skateboard, but I saw this cool new plastic penny board, like a Mickey Mouse polka dot one, and I need to spend money on that thing. And I'll just postpone my dream until I get that board. And then you see somebody else wearing some kind of pair of shorts that you want, and it just continues on until you're like, I literally don't remember what the original goal of what I was trying to get in LA was, because all I did was become like saturated in wanting these random things, and then people see you, and then they do it.
Side quests.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's important that we just got to stay centered, you know, like I guess identify more with our higher consciousness than our material surroundings and our material self.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on how long your board lasts, I guess, or something. Could be wrong. But yeah, having goals. American Time Machine. You seem to think about consumers. You're consuming right now. What do you think?
I was. I mean, yeah, I guess. Okay, we there was a lot. No, there was a lot that you guys talked about, so it's hard to like just, you know, be like pick.
I did that on purpose.
Well, that was a store brand 2-liter, wasn't it? So it's
Yes.
like anti-consumerism in a way.
I don't know.
Sure.
I should just drink water. I should be drinking water. I know that.
I was literally thinking about making Che Guevara t-shirts for that reason. Cody.
All right, so I want to bring up another group of kind of online friends that I have. Trust me, you guys are like my first online friends.
I get it. I get it.
Group, I know.
But you slut around. I know.
So there's a like a group of people that try to freeload online, like, and they've created like this whole freeloader challenge. There's a YouTube channel. I really like the guy. His name is Mikey Million. He calls himself Mikey Millions, but
I know Mikey Millions. Theta Gang.
Yeah. It's Theta Gang.
Yo, you're a member of Theta Gang? I fucking love Theta Gang. They taught me all about how to fucking wheel options. Anyway, continue. Sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah. So it's I've really gotten into their freeloader challenge. So I'm going totally for a bunch of sympathy points here. I lost my job recently, which I have mixed feelings about. There's no such thing as being unemployed if you like. There's rideshare and shit. You can like pick up and find work almost.
There's corners. There's corners with boys that are curious.
Exactly. But so yeah, lost my job. I think at the end of the day, it was bullshit. That's just my opinion. But we don't have any workers' rights in pretty much 49 out of 50 states. So you can get fired for basically any reason if the boss is having a bad day, especially if you're in a family-owned business, which I was. So I could talk shit about that all day, but I'm not going to. The main point is that, well, if you want to get out of the system and out of that trap, well, it's complicated because like we live in a system where our currency does get deflated. Yeah, well, the currency itself gets deflated over time, so that makes acquiring actual real capital a little bit difficult. But there's a bunch of little things you can do. So now I'm getting into what they call counter gambling, where basically you like sign up for like 30 different like gambling sites, and they give you like just like 25 cents to $1 every day just for logging in, because they're like legally required to for some weird reason. The idea is they want you to get addicted, but you can like just accept that bonus every day, and at the end of the month you have like $400. So if you know what you're doing, you can actually, take that money, use your privilege by being a U.S. citizen, and just, go off to wherever $400 is actually a good monthly salary in the world. I
know what you could do with that.
Yeah.
I was going to say you could extend that scheme, that little scam, and you could attach it to this other one where you start a YouTube channel, basically just called I do scratch offs every day until I win. And there's like, I just went down a rabbit hole of these fucking YouTube channels that have been doing that. Basically, they just buy scratch offs with money, and then they like, do it on camera, and then they post the videos. The idea is if you get revenue from those videos, you could just buy more scratch offs. So basically you do both. You do your freeloading challenge strategy, and you buy fucking scratch offs with it. Just post videos of yourself. I've seen like booster pack opening videos, and those are fucking fascinating to me. I don't know why. They just like they do something to my brain chemicals, like that just gets me hooked on like watching them.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, it's interesting how like gangster or lottery systems are rigged by organized crime, because you're able to go into a town where someone can only afford to buy a certain amount of tickets, and if you put down like $10,000, then all of a sudden you can guarantee you're going to win a certain amount of money, because there's like a logic to it. There's that movie that came out recently, How Jerry and Marge Got Large, right? Which is a true story with the Breaking Bad guy, about how about a serial manager at like Kellogg who retired and figured out that if he bought like truckloads of lottery tickets, he could guarantee the ratio he'd win a certain amount of times, and so he'd always come up every time, and so had an investment strategy and made like millions, hundreds of millions of dollars for him in his town, essentially.
He'll always be the Malcolm in the Middle dad to me.
That's fair. I like this the best. I think this might be my favorite of his roles, actually, because it's a true story, and interesting how the organized crime and the lottery system had to allow it because they didn't have another system in place for laundering money for like a year. So, at the time, this was the best way for them to launder money. If you think about it, now you've got, you won some money. You put down a bunch of money in cash when you bought these tickets. You can't say how many tickets you bought, and you came back with a winning ticket. So, like, you're very lucky. And, like, you'll see, like, these particular people who win the lottery over and over and over and over again. And it's, like, pretty obvious that they're...
And to all you viewers out there, we do not give financial advice, and we do not endorse any of these financial scams.
I don't endorse like
gambling.
I don't endorse gambling, but like, I don't know what my point was about the mafia. Just that their system makes the most sense. Like if you're looking at whichever system, like to be a gambler or to own a casino, I'd say owning the casino does make more sense, right? Yeah. Right.
Well,
like, it's like brilliant to a corrupt system, but it works for you.
Yeah. Also, you know what they say? 99% of gambling addicts quit before they hit it big, like right before they hit it big.
Right before.
I want to loop back to a detail in Kurt's master plan that kind of just got blown past. You said that you would go somewhere where your $400 is worth a lot, and I couldn't help but notice you had a Spanish for Dummies book that you're using as a mouse pad. Is there a connection between those two things at all?
Kind of. I mean, so
maybe.
Now I think right now I'm somewhere between B1 and B2 Spanish. Like over the winter, I went yeah, I did a journey to Argentina. It was awesome. Yeah, so much.
If you go to Tangier, dude, in North Morocco, they speak Spanish there. It's pretty cheap in North Morocco. Pretty cheap in Tangier.
Oh shit. There's a lot of options there, but yeah, I don't know if I'll go back to a third world country at this point. Well, that might offend some people. Argentina's amazing. It's like it's got elements of a third world poverty, but first world civilization. It's a weird.
Yeah, exactly.
There's
It's
a lot
a
of
weird-
white people there, aren't there?
Oh, there's
A lot of Germanic people.
yeah,
there's a lot of
especially in
Italian.
the south.
There's a lot of
'cause-
Italian people. I would say
Oh
that
yeah.
there's a lot more Italian people than there are, but there are Slavic people and Italian people. But yeah, you would say it's more. I mean, more or less, they killed off all of their indigenous people, and they put most of their persons of color into the front of their military in the 19th century, and on
Yeah,
purpose.
they're like the socialist inversion of the United States. I think that's a good way to describe their
I don't know. I mean,
profile.
I'd say they're like they were more authoritarian in the 20th century. They went through a similar socialist crisis in the 1890s. They had an economic collapse in the 1890s, and then their banks have been controlled by ours since the 70s, right? And the 2001
Well, yeah.
economic crisis was like on
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah, not to steer off topic, but yeah, some people do blame their whole dictatorship thing on certain funds that came from the United States. Yeah, I'm not verifying that. I'm just saying.
Well,
there was some blame.
we disrupted propaganda too, right? So I have a video on the channel with Leo Zagami that talks about this, but basically Italy had the Sicilian mafia, which was in control in large parts of Propaganda Do, which was the Italian Freemasonry, and Perón was a member of the Italian Freemasons through the Propaganda Do, who, when he was dead in 1987 or something like that, they went into his tomb and they cut off his hands, right? Which is a part of a number of other Masonic rituals because he'd done stuff that was wrong, according to them. But basically, he had lost control of this huge money factory, which was Argentina, for the Propaganda Do corporate mafia. And then the Vatican Bank at the end of that. So that's really like the when Italy started to fall apart, and when we look at like the collapse of the Italian state, but also the end of Argentina, because in the 80s Argentina is where the double bypass heart surgery was invented, where like the earliest radio was just built and distributed, electroshock therapy, different kinds of like they had infrastructure, cars that they were making. Like Argentina was really ahead of a lot of people in a lot of ways, and it's when people say like Iraq used to be really advanced before America got there, it's kind of like that, but not as bad. But yeah.
Very, very good tangent there.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Going back to what you guys were talking about earlier. Sorry, I'm trying to navigate here, but it was a lot. We were talking about, manifestation.
Spanish.
Well, Spanish and the law of attraction. Spanish is just a wonderful language. But like I don't know. You could talk a lot about Spanish, but anyway, going back to like the whole law of attraction thing, I think we live in such weird times because everything's so commercialized now. Sometimes it doesn't even feel like any sort of concept is real. I think everybody gets that feeling where everything is treated as a consumer experience, and that kind of numbs everything that we feel to a certain degree. We don't want to believe any set sort of philosophy because all we know is just the consumer experience. We experience these ideas, but we don't really absorb them. I think that is true like with stuff like the law of attraction. Like, yeah, it was totally commercialized and hijacked in a certain way, but many philosophers would propose that you do have significant influence on the creation of your own reality. And so like it's so hard because everything in our system sometimes it does feel like it's specifically wired to keep people from achieving their goals, because if you're constantly in that goal mindset
of survival mode.
Yes, survival mode. That too. It's hard to break out of that and actually achieve something, actually have meaningful relationships. Because how productive are you really going to be if you're already satisfied with your life?
Okay,
That's
yeah,
not
I
really
have.
conspiracy theory. It's just like what naturally happens. Like if you talk to a naive younger version of me, yeah, I've thought by now, I would be having a standard 9 to 5, pretty good job, and have some kids, the nuclear family going on, and my
Jobs,
life
not jabs.
certainly has not played out that way in any means. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think, in some way, I think I'm more prepared for death now because, like,
Yeah, yeah, that's a
I'm,
big
yeah,
quality.
yeah, yeah.
I think what another thing is, it's like it's so complicated because it's a completely different framework of viewing your life and your reality, where it's like normally you're thinking it's easier to think life happens to you, because when you're a kid, when you're born, when you're a baby, that's literally the truth. Like, life does indeed happen to you. You are a victim of life. But then once you start gaining agency in your life and your reality, which it's tough because it's never one defining moment where you're like, all right, I'm officially a being with my own agency, with complete control over my own destiny, because it's not true. Like, for example, when you're a teenager, you're not like legally an adult. There's a whole bunch of things you're restricted from doing, and yet you kind of have, you're like self-conscious enough to a point where you understand, like, you have set goals, you have like an idea of what kind of person you want to be, what kind of things you want to be able to do. And that's why it's tough. And another thing that makes it tough, another roadblock, are like past traumas. So in that vulnerable state of when you're like a kid to a teenager, and like awful things happen to you that were just completely outside of your control, that makes it really easy for you to just like lock you in that state. Because, for example, like, we talk about these things like the law of attraction and manifestation. That shit doesn't happen when you're in survival mode. Like, that shit doesn't work when you're in a state of like need, when you're in a state of like, oh, I don't even know if I'm gonna have a roof over my head like in the next month. Like, when you're in that kind of mode, there's no way you're going to be manifesting shit. So at some point, it is like kind of a point of privilege, I guess you could say. You have to somehow find a space to be comfortable, because to like really cocoon yourself like that, and to like go through that point of like self dissection and like evolution and actual like breakthroughs, like, you have to have a space. Like, you have to have solitude. You can't do that when you're like locked in a toxic environment with like a bunch of shitty roommates or whatever, or you're in school, like in college, in a dorm room where there's so much shit going on, so many people around you. So yeah,
Is it working that way though? Because this week is all a bunch of
Activate
ninnies
the
watching.
amygdala.
Isn't this week a bunch of ninnies who got nothing better to do watching fake news, like, Pretty Little Congress? Isn't this whole week, day after day, a fake September 11th CNN special, where like for this week, right? Like, and it's all for people that don't have, like, if you have a job and you're busy, but you're not going to do that. But if it's the summertime and you're free and you've got, time that you could be spending to read books and elevating yourself and
shadow work and stuff.
doing that light and shadow work, instead, people are going to be. Yeah, I don't feel like so this is like the thing. I've been taught all my life that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we got to get to a point where we're free to make our own decisions, but those are the people that seem the most controlled.
Yeah.
Vega's muted, but I'm gonna unmute him because look at that. Here you
go. Well, to Chris's point, I think that the law of attraction works both ways. Like, there's that saying that worrying is like praying for shit that you don't want, and sometimes I think the universe will sort of like throw us a bone and meet us more than halfway if our intention is strong enough. Like, if we're in that survival mode, if we're so locked into, not having our needs met, the universe will, the universe throws you a bone, the higher power, God, whatever your word is for it. The same way that the universe will send us warnings when we're about to get into a really nasty situation that we may have been manifesting, we may have been trying to bring about this negative outcome, and the universe for some reason is like, you know what, I have a different plan in store for you. So it's this co-creative thing with not only with ourselves and with each other, but also this super higher elevated consciousness. And it's Andreas was talking about sigil magic and how symbols represent ideas, and language is, you know, a system of symbols, and it's a tool that we use for transmission of ideas. And it seems like, and this is just a pattern that I've recognized, and I'm sure you all have as well. We as a species have only been able to develop and understand technologies when we first have the language, to the linguistic framework for it to kind of like manifest itself. And I think that works at a personal level and at, you know, the world scale as well.
True. Yeah, I do think a symbol, I mean, I think mentioned this before, but I do think symbols are alive in a sense, maybe not in a conventional way that we think of when we hear the word alive, but I do, maybe they could be more alive than like what we can think of as alive, you know?
You hear Alex Idleman's thing on like Prince Harry in his former, like, at least he used to for sure have a cocaine problem, which is interesting because then he's buying cocaine with pictures of his grandmother, right? Which is kind of interesting. And then he's doing the cocaine with pictures of his grandmother, and then he's getting more pictures of his and like they're just, I mean, the idea of these symbols are just like charged sigils, right? That's all. So that's kind of back to The Secret. All of the people that are like, oh, what do I want? I want more Starbucks. I want more McDonald's. I want more Disney.
Amen.
So this is the concern of sigil magic, because if you're clever, you can get memeing people to channel to follow your sigil, to charge your sigil for you, essentially.
Well, isn't that how meme magic worked with like the 2016 election? And you know, people could even argue that like the flat Earth conspiracy was a form of like magic. Like if you get enough people to believe in something, it could actually change the form of it. You know, and since the universe has all of these infinite possibilities, could we meme ourselves into a different dimension where, say, the Earth is flat or something like that?
I mean,
Just by sheer belief.
At very least, like if you act on presuppositions, they affect your life whether they're true or not, right? And so the idea of the world being looked at as a disc with all of us in a circle around each other is more, it's a small world after all, and connects us in one way, and also says that there's nothing outside. Whereas the dynamic of the globe in space ideologically says we're only one world, as diverse and giant as it is, because it's an illusion that it's a globe. So clearly it's so big, but also there's the dynamic of our relationship with this space, right? And so then there's the idea that our space is different than outer space, and that's an ideological move, because then you're creating a foreign dynamic for the world, right? Either way. So I think those are the main like changes. Beyond, we live in a holographic reality. It doesn't really matter if we call it flat or not, because we can only perceive things and curves based on the fact that they are flat. Like everything is a density curve based on entropy. So the idea of curve even is just the amount of refractions that are happening to pi in a physics experiment, right? There's like a three brown, one blue video that's kind of about that. The idea that pi is just entropy. Most of everything we experience is like a projection of radio that is creating a holographic perspective of time, space, distance, but it's all in one entangled place, So like, what does it matter whether we think of something as one way or another way? It doesn't actually. I mean, it might not need to change reality that way. It might be enough that we're then arming our. We're then moving forward from those presuppositions, making choices, and if billions of people make those choices and are flowing those directions, then that's creating a new flow, right? If everyone thinks they're supposed to go east instead of west, if everyone flips the clock, that will change that might actually end up changing the directions of things, because there's so much movement that way. It's a butterfly effect.
And what's interesting to me is as far as like verbiage goes, like the way you described it as flow. I mean, I feel like most commonly, I mean, I always like usually hear it as flow and also frequency. People really like that term frequency, because I think frequency implies movement and probably also and patterns. Like because revolution is kind of a pattern, and I think that's really it. And patterns are like such a hard thing to just stick a pin on, because patterns aren't like something solid that you could hold with your hands and experience with your senses. Like patterns are kind of, in a way, they exist in our minds, right? Like patterns are just these ephemeral metaphysical concepts or ideas or just like, but they do exist, right? Like as much as like love would exist, I guess.
And I would
That's
argue that we're projecting them as much as we are perceiving them. It's that transducer quality of perception.
I wonder, because you think about like AI, we were taught for the last 20 years to not stereotype. And then AI comes along and it does a job really well of stereotyping, which has been already displaced. Like we're already taught we should not even think about doing that on such a fundamental level.
Well, it's too powerful. If you're so good at stereotyping, then you could like become a master of social reality, and that's no good.
Well, that's what AI does. AI can say, hey, look, these are the things that
I'm kidding, by
these
the way. That was a
cats have in common. No, but it's true. Like if you can predict based
Oh
on
yeah.
stats using
Yeah, or-
Facebook what kind of person is going to be at which rally at what time and which day, and you can even incentivize it with advertisements, then you have a lot of power over people. It's totally true. It is.
And speaking of rallies and revolutions and all of that, I think it's pretty hilarious that the that the DNC frontrunner is Kamala Harris, and like the reason that she's kind of there is because of the civil rights movement. And MLK's whole thing was judge me not by the color of my skin, but by the content of my character. And now we're just supposed to totally ignore that and be bullied into voting for Kamala.
I think it's because like she's black enough, right? That's actually
Yeah,
the
but that's
funniest
judging
part.
her by the content.
That's the
color
funniest
of her
one. Yeah,
skin.
you're like, well, yeah, she's black enough. She's almost black enough. Like that's a weird. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's weird that she actually kind of looks like a camel.
What the fuck?
Jesus.
Doesn't it? Is that? I don't know if this is photoshopped or not, but like
Holy shit,
These
man,
ads
that's
are
so
just
funny. I want
know
to smoke
she's
whatever.
I know, right? Smoke him if you got him. She's just been biding her time. I know it's bad.
Biding our time.
Well, honestly, as a cigarette smoker, I've never been one of those smokers who just like fixate on one brand. Like I only smoke Newports or I only smoke Mavericks. It's like I'll dabble, like I'll smoke Parliaments if I'm feeling Russian, if I'm feeling like vodka and cocaine, like I'll smoke some Newports here and there. Sometimes I go to a party, especially like in Brooklyn, and that's all people got. And usually I'll buy like Marlboro Reds because that's what my dad smoked, and it makes me nostalgic.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad's not dead or anything. It's just that I don't know. I guess
It's just a preface. But you're dead to him. Yeah. No, I feel like with Kamala though, what do you think? Are they going to wait for her to become president? Because doesn't it make the most sense just to make her president now? Like how could they really wait until the election? It's so easy. He's incompetent. Biden's incompetent. Just have him step down. Boom. Democrats. First female president, whether you like it or not. Brilliant, right?
Wait, Sam's in the chat, but he's not in the room.
Sam.
Yeah, I really thought Joe kicked the bucket. I really thought he was dead for a second. Just for a second.
I still do. What, is he not dead? Can you prove
I don't
it?
know.
Like,
Didn't they say he was supposed to be speaking? Wasn't he speaking tonight or something? Or didn't he speak?
I thought I heard like some clip. I didn't see him yet. Is anybody does anyone have any information on this? Did Biden actually look like he was alive today?
He was wearing sunglasses walking to the plane or whatever. I don't know.
If I type in Biden alive, will I see anything? Is there any news about COVID 5 hours ago? Is this it? This is supposed to be him today? Okay, is this him?
Whoa,
or is
he looks
this
like shit.
Or is this Meghan Markle? Kate Middleton. Is this Kate Middleton? Is that what's
That's
going on?
Jim Carrey in FX makeup.
This is Jim Carrey as Kate Middleton.
Oh
as
man,
Biden. I don't know, bro. I don't feel it. I don't know what day this is. I can't prove it.
oh man.
I tell you, unless I put my hands into the holes in Biden's hands, I will not believe he is risen from the dead. I can't. I just don't think so. I think that it makes more sense. But again, it doesn't. I think here's the worst part of it. That's a plausibility. Like, he's been so absent the entire time that we could even think, he probably is still here. It's possible because he's gone all the time. He's probably not dead. Or maybe that he could, like, that's crazy. Like, what president has ever been that absent that you could literally think he might be dead the whole time?
Well, the scariest I've heard is that they killed him. Like the Democrats or the deep state killed killed Biden and then replaced him or something. I was like, I got the
3
heebie-jeebies.
times now. Yeah, this is how many times are you gonna do that though? I think that's kind of
Need him.
like we don't even have a clone ready yet. It's not. We won't have it until November. Like it's in the vat. I don't know. That's what it feels like.
Oh my god! And then also Donald Trump's son Barron. He's so fucking tall. He scares the crap out of me. He's like the Nephilim. I think he's
The elite have to be tall. Like all of the presidents, really, right? They're all like 6'6" and stuff. Barron's a natural born leader, right? He's all stretched out.
He could be the result of some like time traveling initiative to like strengthen him into a god. Like
Yeah,
a prop-
which is the ultimate white privilege, I think.
Well,
if
you got to think too. Donald's always ordering McDonald's, and I'm sure that he's like, "Hey, Baron, what do you want from there?" And there's tons of human growth hormone in there, right? So, or
Interesting. Do you think that any of that's true though? Like, do you think that Trump is really like anything like the everyman's man that he pretends to be?
No.
People are like, oh, he's in his own element when he's with the proletariat and the plebeians, and I'm just like, is he though?
it's like Kid Rock, dude. It's just he found a niche and he's leaning into it.
Yeah,
Yo,
I don't know if he's really like. I feel like he probably actually eats caviar. I don't know if he really is eating hamburgers as much as like they say. I feel like
The man
all
wears
of the
diapers.
see, this is the thing. Most of the anti-Trump propaganda only serves him because it makes him sound like he's every man's man because he eats McDonald's and drinks Coca-Cola, which is the most American sounding. I mean, this is supposed to be an accusation against him. I don't know.
Diet Coke.
Dubious. To me, it seems more likely that he's probably eating caviar and he's making sure to get photos of his caviar in a McDonald's container or something like that. I have a really hard time believing that he's just. I don't know. Maybe that's because I can't imagine eating McDonald's, but do you think so, really? Do you think he really is just like...
Earnestly.
No.
Yeah, the guy wears diaper. He's got a McDonald's build.
I think he was always like he's definitely one of those rich freaks because when he was a kid, like he used to roller skate down Fifth Avenue in Manhattan with like a limo behind him, holding up all the traffic with like bodyguards and shit. Like, I mean, I think that's maybe that doesn't make him like a weirdo that just only eats like a European royal noble or whatever. But I feel like
Well, I didn't say he was a cannibal. He didn't have to eat nobles. Maybe.
he didn't eat peasants.
That'd be cool. I think no. It just the thing I noticed is Trump wore like really nice clothes in the '90s, and then all of a sudden he started wearing schmuck suits, like he worked at a bank for the election, and it was brilliant because like wow, like clearly that's not real. Like you've got a bad tie on. You used to wear like if you seen him in this look at like young Trump suit photo.
He
He's
dressed
always-
like a baller.
He's a baller with a gangster. He's a gangster with a look. He's freaking holding a dove right now in this picture. You know what I mean? Right? And like, yeah, and like bow ties and things like that. Look
Holy
at this.
shit.
Yeah, like he, you know, whatever you want to say, like he knows how to dress himself, or like he knows how to pay people to dress him, like whatever it is. And so the idea that he really would dress like, hold on, like a Trump 2016, what do you call it? Campaign. Let's look at a picture of him in the campaign, and he's just looks like this is unbelievable. This is not real. Like this is a bank. This is a J.C. Penney suit, you know, and it's just crazy because it works. Because people could imagine themselves. Like I think dudes in their 60s could imagine themselves wearing that suit if they were running for president. I feel like that was a major part of it. Is it just says, hey, look, I know how to be I'm a man of the people, even though.
There was that rumor that some medication he was taking had like side effects that affected his judgment, so to speak.
Yeah,
Mm.
there was something that he was taking something to keep his hair growing or something like that, and they were saying that was supposed to affect his judgment. I don't know if that's the case. How do we know that it affected his judgment poorly? All I've seen is he's got like wicked high coherency. Maybe he's on Limitless and it gives you a full head of hair. We don't know. Like it probably affects him. Like he's clearly affected. The dude is brilliant. He's clever. He's on his feet. He's fast, and he's like, you know, not much younger than Biden. Realistically, it's impressive how much more virile he is compared to the guy his own age.
Because he's got more mana, you know, like unlike Biden, he practices like probably some yoga
Sorcery.
or some shit. Yeah, sorcery, some magic with a K at the end, not just a C.
For
Yeah.
sure. I feel like that. Yeah.
He's
that's
also
horrible.
like, got access to, his wife and the energy that she has. So,
Yeah, and alien technology probably.
Yeah, she's probably Pleiadian. I don't know. What do you think, Kurt? You think she's a Pleiadian? Space alien, light beings, star seeds, marrying
Kamala?
from?
No,
No.
Melania.
No, yeah,
That
Melania.
sounds like a fucking alien name, Melania.
Melania
Melania.
seems. I might sound funny. No, I think I have an ear infection. It's just like I went diving and it like fucked me up a little bit, but it should get better. But it's like I'm just gonna sound a little funny, but I think she regrets a lot of her decisions. I think yeah.
Melania
I don't-
is an anagram for Alien M.
Oh shit!
No, I don't think very, very, very beautiful girl, but no, I don't think she really wanted ever to really be into like the presidential spotlight. And
That's if she's
I
not
d-
an alien.
was that?
That's if she's not an alien.
Oh yeah, if she's not an alien. No, I think I don't know. I'm sure she's had kind of a complicated life. You have to be, to even get into that position. But and she's an example
You mean
of
like
someone who,
into human form, or what are you saying?
No, I mean throughout her normal flesh human life, it's still been like complicated, assuming her origin story is legit. Like,
You mean
yeah.
from like Zeta Reticuli?
I don't know. I can't even tell you where Melania was born. To be honest, I don't know that much about her life, but
Clearly from
Slovenia is the official story, but the Slovenian star system outside of Alpha Centauri is the most likely thing. I like the conspiracy that she's a Pleiadian light being that's taken over a model's body, which is very common apparently. Is that they like get models.
I mean, if you're gonna take over a body, you might as well take over a model's body.
Yeah, right. And like, it does not have to be like a bad thing. A lot of people are like, oh no, you're possessed by demons. Yeah, but like, what if it's like that Star Trek Deep Space Nine thing with the Drax, right? With the, what I'm talking about? Where's that girl and she's got, on DS9, is it called Drax? I forget what it's called. Yeah, this chick. She's got this like thing in her tummy, which is a parasite that's like.
Yo, I love Jadzia Dax. She's the best
Oh.
fucking character in that whole thing, I think.
She likes to get into some weird Klingon abusive like BDSM
I don't even know if,
things.
I'm pretty sure they're gender neutral. I'm pretty sure that's like a true gender neutral character.
Well, bro, I don't know. I'm not very neutral on her gender. I got some swayed opinions. I feel like she's pretty cute.
Because they've lived as like many different lifetimes. I mean, just in a weird.
Oh, you mean her tummy thing? Yeah, no, it's not her though. So the deal is that she was selected by her community for being hot and smart and vegetarian, and then they let her have this. And she meets a dying dude, and the dying dude, he sits next to her, and they lie on the table, and then the thing comes off its tummy, comes off the guy's tummy, and it crawls over under her tummy. Crawls right on into her tummy and it connects to her central nervous system. And this thing that's like living in her tummy, that's its own thing. That's the Drax that's been around forever. That thing is, yeah. In terms of gender neutral, it'll drive a stick or automatic. It'll get in a British car or an American car. It doesn't matter. It takes your body and it uses you until you die. But everyone's into it, right? Like this is like it's totally cool in our society. We have possession.
Well, it also gives you like all the knowledge of the previous possessions, I guess you could say. So it's like all the memories and all the experiences. Don't they also kind of like integrate into you?
Yeah, it's super. I don't know. I was gonna say hot, but it's kind of weird.
I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like imagine like having something that, like once it attaches to you, it gives you all the knowledge and experience of like 5 or 6 other lifetimes.
That is such a like a juvenile fantasy. Oh, we're gonna know each other so well. Like, God, I don't think
It sounds like a commune.
That is young lover syndrome right there. Like, hey, do you guys ever just agree with each other like all
Yo,
the time? Me
You know what?
too.
You know what? All right. So now that we're on that subject, like, listen, you just described why I hate the show Sense8. I thought it was like cool with spectacle at first, but then like I realized conceptually, I was like, this show is fucking disgusting. Like, I don't like this show. I mean, of course, I watched all the episodes up until the last one, but I was like, no wonder why I fell apart.
Disgusting in like a guinea pig way, a Black Mask way, or a 90210 kind of way? Like, what do you mean? Japanese TV goes every direction.
Well, all right, maybe in a couple of different ways, right? First of all, there is that conceptual way where it's like you said, it is juvenile to want to have this. Oh, at least I'm never alone. I'll always be connected with these like 7 other people, so the 8 of us make the Sense8, you know, like whatever. So it's like, okay, there's that. You know, it's just like kind of like, okay, that's a little cheesy.
All right, you got me there. All right,
There's second. They have to make it all like sexualized, and it's always a constant orgy with these people. It's like,
oh my god, it is 90210 guinea pig. Is this what you're talking about?
Number
No.
8.
No. Sense8. SENS. The number 8.
I'm so sorry. I like where my head went though.
Wachowskis.
The Wachowski twins produced this
yeah.
fucking show, and I was like, oh my god.
That tracks.
And the
I think
problem
they're
was
just siblings, but yeah.
Yeah, the
okay,
Wachowski
the Wachowski siblings. All right, sorry, but yeah, this fucking show.
I thought it was butt buddy. Butt buddy. I thought it was the new term.
And the funny part was, you know, the black dude, the African guy, they had to recast him because after the first season, like, he just wasn't down with all the orgies. He was like, come on, man, I don't want to do all these orgies, which sucks because everyone loved the guy, but no one could like fault him for wanting to quit the show because he was like, come on, why do we have to do all these orgies, man? And
oh, that's TV
Fuck.
now. That's TV now. There was like
God.
a Whitest Kids You Know about that, where like they're practicing a scene and they have to do like kissing, and he's just like more, and they're these 2 straight guys that are being forced to kiss for their improv scene. It's like, come on, do it. Show me there's passion. Yeah, that's really
So
I don't know.
awkward.
They don't let gays play gays. Have you seen this? Like, maybe now, maybe it's a thing now, but like growing up, what I remember was like closeted homosexuals playing the sex symbols, and then it was straight males playing the gay characters. Always. You had women playing trans women, right? Actual, like, a woman would be turned 40 and she used to play a mom. All of a sudden in the early 2000s, she's playing a trans woman. And this is modeling, see, like, trans women are like real women. Gay men are like masculine men. You know, and you've got all these like movies about like Jim Carrey, which I don't know, people with Ewan McGregor in I Love You, Philip Morris, right? And like these kinds of movies, which like this way secular heterosexuals can watch movies about gay concepts and kind of like force it in because they don't understand that there's a difference. And then the actual gay people, they're not in those. Maybe now, but like, have you noticed this? It seems like it's always been they have straight people play gay people.
well, I mean, when it comes
And
to
force
like
them to kiss, which is rude.
well, there's the movies, and that might be the case. But when it comes to like those Netflix shows where they cast like kind of like Zoomers, you know, like young adult Zoomers, I feel like those shows feature a lot of authentically gay. And if they're not authentically gay, they're doing a hell of a good job playing like a gay person.
They're like, I can work with this. Sorry.
There's less
Yeah.
stigma with the Gen Z actors versus like, you know, the Gen X actors. They all had to be straight, like Tom Cruise, like. You know what I mean? John Travolta only just recently kind of came out, but like none of them could ever admit it. Even though, you know, like at fucking Top Gun, super duper like overtly homosexual. And
I like it. I like it when gay guys play like straight action, manly alpha chads. That's cool, right?
Yeah, dude, that's Tom Cruise.
And
Right
what about
there.
Andreas Xirtus? You liked it. I kissed a boy, but she had a vagina and her name was Stevie. I feel like things have changed a lot. This like the rules now are different.
Oh man, yeah. Media is fucking crazy. It blows me away. Just the stuff that's like just apparently okay with it's all labeled off as family friendly. I mean, if your family has a subscription to the service, you might as well assume anyone could access it in the house. Like. But yeah, it's
or
just,
like all over the place. All you got to do is call them and be like, "I'm on vacation." It's really weird. I don't know. The whole thing is horrible. I hate Netflix. What about we talked about Cobra Kai. You know, Cobra Kai. You had feelings. You had some feelings about Cobra
I fucking
Kai.
love Cobra Kai only because like as a dojo person,
Yeah, that's fair.
I love
That's fair.
I love even satirical adaptations of that shit. Like, you ever see the movie The Art of Self-Defense?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's like that. It's like that shit. But this, I love Cobra Kai because it's got this like modern
Art of
California
Self
soap
Defense is
opera.
awesome though too. Actually, I like Art of Self Defense a lot.
Yeah, it's
Everyone
hilarious.
needs to watch this movie. It's pretty sweet. But yeah, sorry, Cobra Kai is incredible. At least it kind of is. I feel like the last few seasons didn't make me feel the same way since Netflix took it over. I thought it started off like super duper strong as a YouTube Red show, and then they sold it, took a year off, and I don't know, fourth, fifth, sixth and a half. I'm halfway. There's like only 5 episodes of season 6 so far. It's hard for me because it's so cheesy now. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, get it? It's supposed to be cheesy. Like, her mom dies and like the other guy gets the girl and he's stuck out of jail. But it's like,
But
I
you know
can't
what's
tell
cool?
because it feels like it's just also trying to be Days of Our Lives. a
That's
soap
true.
opera.
I totally agree with that. But what is cool, because amidst the present day sea of just shows about like these fucking emo high school kids who are just like caught up with their like feelings and interpersonal, interfriendship, incestuous relationships where it's like cheating and all this like inner turmoil and externalized turmoil and all that stuff. You just got this show about like young high school kids beating the fuck out of each other over
True.
it. And that's pretty cool. That's like almost novel now, you know, like
It is novel, and yeah, karate instead of vaping. Yeah, there's a lot of things about it that are good. I think it's like probably the best alternative to Degrassi, but like I don't know.
It's a
What do you
little.
think?
I think it's a little boomer coded. That's my criticism. You know, like
Yeah.
it's definitely a little.
Yeah, because it's definitely they're trying like Netflix, so they're trying to hit. They're like, hey, if you're 60 and you remember being the old guy in this show, if you are the old guy in this show, let's make it about you. And so they kind of they're flashing back to this guy in the 70s in Vietnam and all that. They're like, yeah, you don't watch Cobra Kai, do you, Kurt? Communist? No.
I mean,
I'm just
I'm sure he watched Karate Kid movies. Kurt? Did you see Karate Kid?
The first one.
Yeah. So that's all you need to know. If you watch the Karate Kid movies, that's it. You're set. Like if you know who Mr. Miyagi is, that's all that really matters. Like,
give a rundown. But
Here's a sync. Speaking of straight actors playing gay people and trans people, the next Karate Kid, Hilary Swank.
That's interesting.
Boys Don't Cry. Yep.
Yeah.
Jaden Smith. Oh my goodness, how did I miss that one? That was right there.
yo. All right. First of all, I have a
Wow.
lot. I have a lot to say about that fucking Jaden Smith movie. But first and foremost, I just want to like posit fucking an idea. Imagine, because like I think Machio is kind of planning another Karate Kid movie, right? Like now that after this season like fully wraps up, they're gonna actually do a full-length film. I think, and wouldn't it be sick if they did have Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith do like their own little fucking appearance, I guess. Which,
I have zero problems with the Karate Kid movie except for its title. I think they should have called it
well,
the Kung
yeah,
Fu
the
Kid.
Kung Fu Kid, yeah.
And I would have said, if they had said like created by the people who brought you the Karate Kid, Kung Fu Kid, I would have been
Yeah,
like, okay,
that's perfect.
okay. Yeah,
Perfect,
I
but
would have
no.
been so into it. I would have been like, you know what? They respect the IP and they're actually being novel and creative still. I would have probably championed that movie.
That would
That's
have
so
been amazing, but no, they had to. That it's like the worst kind of clumsy blunder. too.
Non-starter. Yeah, calling it Karate Kid and then it being racist against Japan because it's all about China during a really bad, like pinnacle bad time for that because China's on the rise. People in America were like contentious with China, so like if they had presented it in such a way, because we've had Shaolin monks kick back, 3 Shaolin monks kick back, and all this other stuff, right?
I think that's the only way to redeem it. The only way to redeem it is to include those characters in the next Karate Kid movie, right? Like, otherwise,
I think there's a lot of work that has to be done to redeem, like so bringing it back to shadow and light work with Jaden, bro. Like shit, that guy's got a lot. I don't know what to do. Andrew,
he needs to do
thoughts?
karate. He needs to do some.
What would
karate.
you do? What would you do for Jaden? You just put him to work at breaking up concrete? How would you save Jaden?
I mean, he's like, he grew up in Scientology, so there's only so much he could do for somebody like that. But he's also like
He's more Thetan than man. Yeah, okay.
he's hardwired into the law of attraction, you know. So he's
Well, you say that like it's a concern. I mean, hey, wasn't the law of attraction a good thing? No, what's your?
yeah, no,
I use
but
that
I mean, it's like
shit.
you got to think about like what his brain is like trained on.
what state he's living. He's living in the fifth dimension all the time. Like he's not. He can't come down to the 3D amongst us mere mortals every once in
I
a
mean,
while.
if you think like Will Smith, his name in and of itself is a sigil for fucking the law of attraction.
The
Yeah.
Fresh
like,
Prince of Bel
He's
Air.
a smith of the will. Yeah.
Exactly, precisely.
Oh
makes will.
shit!
Yeah.
You're right. Damn, I never looked at his name that way. Holy crap!
Oh yeah. You know what he said also, like what separates him from everyone else? If you put him on a treadmill, he will keep running until he dies. He will keep running and will not stop. No, I don't know if, that's I don't know if it's true or not, but he means it. He says he means it. And I think that is part of his idea of himself, is that he will go beyond where he can, what he thinks is like his body's capable of. He'll psych himself out and keep pushing.
Who do you think could go further, him or Tom Cruise?
Tom Cruise.
Ooh.
Tom Cruise, because Tom Cruise is better than Will Smith, and he could go further. The difference is, though, like Gattaca. In that movie Gattaca, where the twins are swimming, and one twin, is like this eugenics master race dude, and the other dude is like a bioorganic guy who's got a heart defect. But the heart defect guy wins. And the other brother, the bigger brother, is wondering like why he didn't win. In fact, he like suffocates, nearly drowns, and his brother with the heart defect saves him. And he's like, "You want to know why? It's because I never saved anything for the way back. I always he would just go until he was gonna die. Whereas the stronger brother,
Strategizing.
he's always making sure he could like have enough energy to make it back. But the other guy, he just pushed it to 100%, which meant 150%. Or
You know what's just like that?
110%. Give it 110%.
Also, Metal Gear Solid did that same trope where it's like a Solid Snake was most people know, in the fans of the series, there was like he was a twin. There was Solid Snake and Liquid Snake. Very, very, very clever.
Very Terminator 2, yeah.
Yeah, but there was this whole like idea of like they had both have this genetic failsafe where it's like the superior clone, once that switch was flipped, would just automatically just drop dead, like their heart would stop. And a lot of the assumption, like it was unsure, it was kind of vague as to who the superior clone was. And it turns out like your character, I'm pretty sure when the virus activated, you were the inferior one and the other one died, and yet that means you are ultimately superior because you survived and now he's dead. So it's like it's kind of that reversal. I like that.
I follow what you're saying, but I also was distracted by my own thoughts about how like Tom Cruise versus Will Smith is sort of like cats versus dogs. And since like as domesticated animals, their hierarchy of needs is all met, they're kind of in that comfortable space where they can manifest. And I feel like dogs, for some reason, are better at that. Like how they can stare at food that you're eating and just like make it fall to the floor for them. You know what I'm saying?
You're just like, oh shit. They're looking at you and they're drooling and they're like looking at you with their eyes. You're right here.
Yeah, but
the
cats can size you up, mind control you into like them.
The cat will manipulate you in doing it, whereas the dog is sort of manipulating matter itself.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like
all
when
about the ball, and then the cat's all about the bounce.
The dog is like the samurai and the cat is like the ninja. Like I like when the cat like pretends to stretch near the table and then reaches and then grabs your shit and then it's like, yeah, that stuff's cool. The cats really are like killers. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
I know. I was about to say the cats are naked drug addicts that murder, and they just leave bodies at your door, and they just say like, "You clean this up," and people are like, "It's a gift," and it's not a gift, And it's weird that people love cats, but they use people, right? That's the way where they find the weak link, the human that'll that'll enable. They find enablers, right? Cats find enablers. That's how it works.
Well, I look at it as like cats. I mean, we're treated as deities for a reason, right? I think it's because. I mean, look, I don't know if this is real, but I resonate with
Here's
this
a cat enabler right now.
No, I mean, I resonate with this idea that apparently I think it was Egyptian mythology or something where they said dragons in the world disappeared when house cats started showing up. So apparently like the souls or the spirits of dragons escaped into the bodies of these little murderous feline cats. Which
I like to think that cats are basically like, I like the idea of the South Park, that every consciousness, every light being, every kind of alien race is kind of mixed here, right? And also beyond that maybe there are sentinels. And what the Egyptians believe, and the Mayans, and there's a lot of groups that have believed that animals are sentinels for the stars, right? For different consciousness, and that Bastet and like from the cat energy, cats are watching us, witnessing what we're up to in our lives, so it's not just that there's something that's with us, like this energy that's around us, but even the consciousness itself around us is invested in sentinels to watch us, right? So dogs were worshipped, the Anubis and everything. There are dogs that are, well, I don't know if actually it's Anubis technically. Seth is not. Seth is some weird like jackal thing, but Anubis I think is technically a dog, right? I mean, like, what do we call Anubis?
Well, dogs are interesting because they're basically like our first like eugenics program,
Yeah, he's a
pretty much,
canine.
really.
Yeah.
And we
That
created
counts.
dogs, right? And dogs are also interesting because unlike wolves, dogs actually engage in killing for fun. I think wolves just do it to like eat and like defend, but like wild dogs will just fucking kill.
Yeah, it's some vestigial thing.
The dire
Makes me-
wolf, also a South Park reference. It's like a normal wolf but more dire. These things were these were like 10 feet wolf, big bad wolf, and these were on North America, bear-sized wolves. Cray.
So, speaking of ancient species and how long they've been here or whatever, there's that commonly held belief that
White people?
reptilian, but
I know where you're going.
Well, but I was going to actually double back to something else because everyone's so focused on the reptilians evolving from dinosaurs, they forget about these like drones that are constantly around us. We're surrounded by freaking insects and flies have existed for millions and millions of years.
Yeah,
too.
insectoids.
Yeah. So who's to say that there aren't some super hyper advanced like flies somewhere and like whatever?
Maybe my spirit animal. I always joke around and I say like when people talk about otherkin, like I'm roachkin. Everyone always picks a cool animal like wolfkin or owlkin. How do you know you're not like roachkin or fucking beetlekin or dung beetlekin?
So the Native Americans have Kokopelli. A lot of people confuse Kokopelli's vestigial with a trumpet. Right, but actually that's supposed to be his mandible because Kokopelli is an insectoid that lives underground and emerges every century or something like that, playing these weird music, which is associated with cricket noises, right, etc. But that then people will go with the insectoids underground, and that they have hybrid insectoids, which have emerged several times throughout history, right? This is very common with the Lakota, the Hopi, etc. That's interesting to me because of the idea of insectoids, right? The idea that there are super soldiers that have been engineered recently that have insectoid DNA is a common, like BBC article talking point. I mean, China, United States, secret islands where super soldiers have been built. NY Post, super soldiers, China, US. Hold on.
Starship Troopers, Ender's Game.
Yes, China has been creating super soldiers. The United States has been creating super soldiers. U.S. officials. We've been doing this for like 20 years, which means we have
with
grown.
with CRISPR and everything.
Yeah, and like they're grown ups now, and they've been several generations deep, and probably from stock that's been Ancestry.com, 23andMe, and everything.
And I bet they're not like robotic freaks. Like I bet they're perfectly aware of pop culture. Like they could reference Taylor Swift. Like they know all this shit. They just happen to be like perfect genetic fucking soldiers.
So there's probably like an island of people that live like a Scientology Mormon cult, of like a military base that will have access to what they're allowed to have access to. And then there's spies, and then there are people that are raised in the United States and that have been here since, since 2006, 2010, there's definitely been and then there's the talk of clones. Cloning is not some crazy process. It's impossible. With in vitro fertilization, you can literally remove the DNA from one host, put another set of DNA and have that be the only sequences that reproduce and replicate in that egg, put that egg into a normal woman through the in vitro process, and then she gives birth to in gestation a normal baby, which has
a super soldier.
We've been doing this for a long time, So
Putin.
Yeah, and Russia too, but I imagine that the United States is pretty big into it. So we've had this woman on the show, Cynthia Sue Larson, who talked about in the 80s, she was, she does like reality shift conferences, that she would go in these dreams to deal with alien insectoids who just recently arrived And the idea that there are many consciousness, some of them, because of the distance light travels, it might take slightly longer for some light to get to Earth with data than some other light from another star. Maybe this light got here 100 years earlier. This takes one more 100 light years or something to get to Earth. And so civilization has emerged with draconians, reptilians, avians, but all of a sudden insectoids get here, and they're, they have rights too. They have a slice of the pie, and then they're genetically reverse engineering the humans to have more insectoid features as well, which we're seeing also through history because of the space-time that there's in the moon, the base. This is the idea of the base with 12 or so alien colony. And then they're also living underground.
So you
space-time.
mentioned there's the draconian, the reptilians, the insectoids, but then the avians, and then there's also the lyrans, which is like the feline type people. What about is there a case made for like a manifestation of like the mushroom will, like the fungus, the mushroom people?
I don't know if like the lore. I can't think of like the mushroom lore. I can think of like the Paul Stamets talking about the universe as a mycelial sneeze, that Douglas Adams, the religion of the sneeze, right, from Scott Adams, is it Douglas Adams from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right? They believe in the religion of the great sneeze. There's another one. Oh yeah, Mario Brothers, of course. The evolution of the Mario Brothers, the Super Mario movie from the 90s is all about that very clearly. The 90s real life action movie, because you see the evolution and devolution of the reptilians, the primate humanoids, hominids, and then also that they're both connected together to this singular eukaryote that is connected to Opisthokonta, which is then to the mycelium mushroom. And so the mushroom is the primordial unifier between the reptilians and the primates.
Have you noticed that like a lot of Japanese people's media references a lot of like alchemy or
Yes.
like that kind of occult stuff, like Aldous Huxley type shit?
Why do you think they're so chill with it? Yeah. All of Japan, they're just allowed to talk about stuff that we find taboo.
Maybe it's because it resonates with their own like Shinto-ness, I guess, their own vibes, their own like native frequency, and then they come across these ideas and they're like, I think they're describing the same shit we know. Like, I think they know what we know,
Yeah, I definitely think that's part of it. I also think there's like the aspect of it's foreign, so they don't have an emotional investment the same way that we do.
You're right. They just shit it out like cartoons. Like, it's funny to them, like they just like, yeah, here, we'll just put this in our funny little anime. And it happens to be like this pretty profound allegory for like alchemy, like what the fuck.
I do wonder though, because like some of the works, like Sir Bernhardt's Nausicaa, is Western influence and Western finance, right? Lensman and early anime like the Dragon Ball, they started out with Lensman. So I think that there probably was an effort, especially at the beginning, to use Japan to outsource ideas that were too expensive to produce in the West. And so they were thinking, okay, we can get occult works produced as animations in the 70s and 80s, and then those probably won't be shown and distributed everywhere. Right? We'll just have them for our lodges or something like that.
Get the glass, the sunglasses memo. Next time.
Good to see you. How's it been, Sam?
Hello. What an interesting discussion that I've been listening over the last few moments. Actually, the whole time, really. And just how you skip along from one thing to the next. It's been quite interesting as I've been following along. But how were you, gentlemen?
We're good,
Doing
Sam.
wonderful today.
Doing good? Well, happy hump day to all of you. It's been an interesting day. Been an interesting day. As I've been looking around, I see that old Rubberface Joe finally got on TV again and said, I quit. But history's in your hands, though, right?
Was it real? Right. Did it seem
just
real?
Like it's in huh? Is he real?
Yeah, was it a live Joe? Me. Was it a real
Deep
live
fake.
Joe?
It was a deep fake. It was a deep fake behind the Resolute desk. A Resolute deep fake. How about that? Yeah. No, but so I'm looking at this, and as you guys were talking about Biden, whether or not this was the third Biden, the fifth Biden, the other agent in the rubber mask, one of the things that I always thought was very interesting was the fact that the old Biden had a tattoo on his arm. Now, what I thought was very interesting is during the pandemic, he ended up having his sleeve rolled up, got another booster. I think he had 6 total after the main shot. It was supposedly in the same arm. Now, I'm not sure exactly how much you can bank on that, but I do know there are pictures of Biden with a tattoo.
Whoa.
But then there are pictures of him having his sleeves rolled up, getting the jab for COVID, and there's no more tattoo. I don't know if those can be brought up either, but they are out there. Biden with his sleeves rolled up, no tattoo visible. So, who was getting the shot?
These are good questions. I don't know. I can't find that particular picture. I've seen a few of these in the past where people wonder if it's real. Fetterman, right? There's one with Fetterman too, where they wondered if he got the vax or if he faked it. Frankly, if you fake the vax and you get away with it, all the more power to you, right? I feel like.
Well, I'm just wondering about the tattoo. Did he get it removed? If so, they did a hell of a job.
Yeah.
I know some people that might want to get that guy to take care of their old tattoos.
What about Biden body doubles? Do you feel like there's body doubles, or you're not so worried about that?
Nah, I don't know. I think there's an image out there with at least like 5 or 6 different faces.
This is the one that gets me. Like, I remember what he used to look like. It's just hard to believe that this is the same face. It's just weird to me. I don't know.
Right?
The
Maybe.
attached lobe versus the unattached.
Yeah, I don't like it. It just seems like too much change.
It stinks.
Yeah.
Well,
I
people say that
Is this
what is he?
change
He had
that-
hair plugs and he's gotten a lot of plastic surgery, Botox and the like, I guess.
It could be. I don't know. I just.
I don't think it was as bad as Matt Gates.
Do you think
at
he's
the
gonna stay?
Republican National Convention?
Do you think he's going to step down at all before the election so that Kamala can be the first female president de facto and give the DNC that little push?
I think they really want to avoid that. I feel like if the Democrats wanted that to happen, they would have done that. But I don't know. It's like don't you think that'll cause a lot of chaos, like really soon?
No, because they've got
No?
like such a short period of time in their government left, and I just feel like it would do the only could help them.
Well,
Because then you can say, like,
about-
look, she's already president. It's not even like a crazy idea for a woman to be president.
That's a good boost. You're right.
It goes back to the power of the incumbent. It all of a sudden makes her technically the incumbent, just by proxy. So that's something to think about. It'd be very interesting. Very interesting. I mean, you saw the what is it? I think today or yesterday she had decided to finally embrace the brat persona. You know, the brats. I believe so I believe that's now a thing.
Girl, we got a lot of work to do. I don't know. I like how she talks in 3 or 4 words at a time.
Well,
She
nothing
talks
can
in
be
3 words or 4 words at a time. This is because when you talk in 4 words, people can focus on those 4 words. This is called speaking. That's how I feel when I hear it. It's just crazy.
And to that be unburdened by that which has been. Because we will all be unburdened.
That's what scares me. That's what scares me. I'll be like, whoa, that was a spell. You know, every once in a while she'll say one thing. You're like, that was so motive be. Yeah. Whoa.
Well, but here's the thing. She says it in every speech at some point, and then she always emphasizes a different word. If she's in front of a different audience, she emphasizes the inflection, the tone. It's well.
The 10-minute supercut of her catchphrase is
Right.
amazing.
Yeah. With a piano, with a graceful piano behind it, because it just inspires you. You know, those 7 words over and over.
It's
and over.
legitimately creepy. It's a
What is
straight up-
fishy is I feel like the dungeon master of this whole game is pulling out some neat tricks this time, because I think he knows he's dealing with a different population than, say, the early 2000s or the 90s or the 80s.
Yeah,
I don't
this
know
is-
if there is a dungeon master. I'm saying, like,
Ah!
hypothetically.
I just think Pikachu's happy trail is irrelevant, but
Ah,
I like it.
Like
we were
the
trying
eye,
to find-
like imagine like an invisible eye of Sauron, just like gazing over us and subtly controlling us in weird metaphysical ways.
where was
Trying
it?
to at least.
Hillary Clinton's name just keeps on ringing in my ears every time you say Dungeon Master.
ah.
I can't even find the good meme.
Hillary
on
Clinton
it.
would be a good dungeon master. She would give us war like all the time. She'd be like, "Yeah, we got this new war."
So do we call her Aunt Hillary or Aunt Hillary? Aunt or Aunt? I mean, how do we because we call him Uncle Joe, so we got to make sure that if it is Aunt Hillary or is it Aunt Hillary?
It's pretty clearly Aunt Hillary.
Aunt.
Yeah, unless you're like, unless you're I can really imagine and be like, "Hey, Hillary, hey, Hillary." Like that's the only
Listen,
way
you
you could say
can't
it.
call her Aunt Hillary because she already thinks that's what you are.
But she's the queen
well,
ant.
Nothing but a little worker ant for the queen. Queen Hill. How about that? There you go, Queen
We
Hill.
need to figure out, like, if we know the alien origin story for most of these people, like if you think that, like,
What kind of
Melania-
starseed are they? Like,
Yeah,
are they?
Melania
yeah,
is a
yeah.
mantis. Where's Kamala from? Is Kamala Lyrian?
Sometimes I get scared that I'm of reptilian lineage. I'm like, what if that's true? Like, what if I draw my power from some draconian reptilian source? You know, like,
you
what
seem
if
kind of Andromedan, bro. You're a little Andromedan, bro.
What's your
I
blood
don't know.
type?
I don't even
You are-
know.
you are
I could try to reference that, but sometimes I feel like maybe, just maybe, I could be of the bad blood. You know, like, I don't know.
What's
I
the
don't know.
bad blood? That's the thing I think is kind of funny. Like, imagine like Thundercats, in the new version too, where they've oppressed all of the reptilians and the monkeyans and everything else like that. Sure, yeah, they're the tribe of Judah, but is that make the monkeyans and the reptilians, the reptoids, the bad aliens? I don't know if that's true. It's more likely that all of these, there's a reason why they're all working together on this like pet project that is humanity.
Well, regardless, I mean, I do feel a connection in the end. I mean, this is kind of like more of the astrology type stuff, but as far as my core belief, it's like I always say, like, oh, everyone's just the same soul living out different lifetimes and different bodies, and everyone reacts differently to like hearing that. But I that's just what I choose. That's how I choose to live, even if that's not true. I feel like ultimately it has to be true. First of all, if we all go back to like that single source of
Dude.
energy.
Where was that DNA video I sent you a few days ago? Do you remember that? That was like about DNA deletes itself, like you lose information.
Use it or lose it.
Oh man, I can't even remember where it is. So basically the deal is like you only get your DNA is like it's going by real fast, and then you get parts of it and you might get some of the sequences, but they did an example of the royal family going back, how much DNA you would lose genetically going back from the king to today to the King Plantagenet, right, who signed the Magna Carta. And by the time you get to like the 12th century, there's almost zero DNA is left that's made its way because the sequences, they get lost so quickly. So we're not able to store, like we think we have all of these millions of sequences from our family, but that's not how it works. You get a few sequences and then it kind of like disappears a lot of stuff. And so very quickly, like you could have an African brought to Denmark, let's say 1,000 years ago, and then the next generation, like first they intermarry with the Danish, the next generation they also intermarry with the Danish, the next generation, within 6 generations, all you have left is a blonde, blue-eyed Danish person, because all of the African DNA doesn't have the capacity to authentically replicate itself, right? And this is the same thing with America, where we have hybridization, we have rapid changes in our system. We don't just have ethno-religious states anymore. We have confluence of all of these different socioeconomic disparity. Even it doesn't even have an idea anymore. You could have rich and poor. So there's rapid deletion of data these last 4 generations particularly. And what we'll see by the end of the 100 years is basically most DNA that existed will be gone. That was common and it was replicated by the 1600s disappears by this point.
So
Just
H.P.
because-
Lovecraft was right. Everyone's just going to be some kind of brown Asian eventually.
Not necessarily, because like the thing is, again, in South America, like let's say, because blonde is a recessive gene, so what's most likely is that people end up having blue-eyed children eventually, because there's blue. If you have any blue-eyed parents, grandparents, eventually you end up having more and more blue eyes, and the blonde hair. This because all blue-eyed people come from one recessive gene trait 13,000 years ago, theoretically. The same could be true with a lot of other of these, like the Macedonian gene that's associated with red and blondish hair. So that's a recessive gene. And you see Africans and like African Americans and people across the world that had recessive blonde genes have blonde hair. So we could easily imagine a world that ends up where, you know, in Africa, blonde, blue-eyed people start to emerge. And then in, you know, Alaska, black people, for some reason, there's like a replication of that genome type. It has nothing to do with what we thought it did. Epigenetics are so much more plastic than we thought, right? It's crazy. You could, within 200 years, you can't recognize the genes that you started with, right? And even in your own, even if you didn't have the cappuccino economy.
Now all we have to worry about are the CRISPR soldiers trying to stop that kind of natural progression. They want to control everything.
Bro,
They wanna-
insectoids. Trying to keep us down. Super soldiers. Yeah.
Super
So
soldiers.
I stepped away for a moment in case wanted to catch people up in the chat and anyone else out there. Have a few books for a point of reference that I wanted to pull up here. Let's see here. We have this one first. Hold on, the microphone's in the way. All right, there we go. Here's one, The Field Guide to Extraterrestrials.
Ooh.
Nice.
Fully illustrated and up to date.
Yes, fully illustrated, up to date from the 90s, I guess.
I don't know about pretty up to date.
Let's see here. The name on there, Patrick Hugh.
Has any new aliens arrived since the late
HUY.
90s? Since X Day? Since X Day 99, right? That's the last
I'm
time
not
new
sure.
aliens arrived.
I'm not sure. So that's the first one. I believe if you can maybe find that one still. It might be out of print. I'm not sure. Some of these are kind of weird. This one's by a PhD. His name is Noel Huntley. This is, let's see here. Hold on. Let's get it up. Some of these are heavy for my little fingers. All right. ETs and aliens. Who are they? And why are they here?
That puts a whole new reverence. I have that one, by the way. That puts a whole new reverence for books in the hands of puppets to me. Like how big the book is compared to you. I never really thought about it, but
I mean,
I
it's,
really do love those books.
it's big.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, this is a good one. Show that picture a little closer. I have that picture somewhere also, like as a poster. But this is kind of the idea. Like this is your you know, the 80s Addams Family, the Brady Bunch from space.
Yeah, it's the crew. You got the insectoids, you got the reptilian, you got the grays, you got the
Yeah, the insectoids, and you have the mantis, which are different. Mantis are different than insectoids. And there's the lyrans. Yeah, there's also the Andromedan there, the grays. The grays are funny because they're basically just bodysuits or like, you know, RC cars. They're just, you know, you just get one, print one, use one, throw it away like a condom. That's what the grays are for. It's pretty cool.
Indeed. This is a really fun.
And the neoconservative in the center is hilarious. Like a young Republican who's hanging out with
Right.
shit. It's kind of weird. I found
and then the last one. This last one is by Rolf Weber. I'm not sure.
We'll
This
go with
one's
Weber.
really heavy. Oh man, this one. Okay.
This is impressive. I like this. Oh, the globe is wearing a gray mask with a fedora. It's hilarious.
I was hoping for some David Icke.
An overview of the extraterrestrial races. Who is who? Oh, look at
my producer. Can you get you help with this?
Rolf
Okay.
Weber.
Producer. There you go. Can you
Yo,
help?
look at that! Look at that dome.
Wow.
Mars Attacks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
that's-
just thinking about that movie.
Oh.
Such a good
That's
movie.
the thing. That's the thing that makes the gray suit so it can use the gray body. It's so smart. It just makes like a limited version of itself that it can, you know, imagine how many bodies you would go through if you didn't have to reincarnate. You'd go through 613 bodies in a lifetime probably. You just like constantly print them.
I feel like there's something important about going through like different lifetimes though, right? Because like you get to wipe the slate clean with all the ego stuff, and you're reborn, and you get to keep your spiritual junk. You just have to let go of the material stuff.
But what did Ram Dass not like solve that with ego death? Can't you just like take copious amounts of psychedelic research chemicals from the CIA in like an IV and then wake up 30 days later and forget who you are and like learn to walk again? I mean, I know you can, but like, should you do that? What do you think?
I think you should just like, I mean, most likely, I think most souls, right? We lived more than one lifetime. Like, it's hard to imagine like meeting a person. Oh yeah, this is my first go around. I mean, that's if hypothetically you took reincarnation as fact, like if you did that, and there's something to be said where it's like, because if you just play a numbers game and you consider like all the lifetimes that could be lived, like I don't think it's the case anymore, right? And there's also, I think there's something to be said
Oh, there's
about,
a lot of things out there. There's a lot of insects and things.
well, there's also referencing like different cycles of ascension, like spiritual ascension for the collective of humanity, where they say once all of humanity, like once our world has basically been through every, like pretty much throughout the whole spectrum of experiences that human life has to offer in our current paradigm, that's when the paradigm evolves. It's like once we've done all of it, once we've all suffered in all its spectrums and been enriched in all its spectrums.
Which is evolution, right? So I feel like if you think about it, the amount of mass that exists now in the amount of mass that existed in the past is the equal and identical mass and amount of mass. So there's not a loss or a gain of mass. The only difference is symmetry, structure, arrangement. And you could say then that is reincarnation because it's incarnated into new shapes and forms, but it's still the same mass. So on a very fundamental level, reincarnation is just objective physics. That's not like.
But what about the idea and the concept of the law of one, everything at once, where everyone is one, and we're all going to experience everything through everyone's eyes?
I think there's like a level of quantum entanglement, right? Like we're all. We're talking about the holographic nature of things. That everything is probably this like dense black flat hole, flat hole, and that from that is a projection of and a refraction of radio that we're experiencing as space, time, light, material, matter, mass. But those are all we're seeing. It's like watching a TV set or a projection. We're like, that is this, that we're experiencing. So that idea of distance and depth and curvature and all that idea of distance, really, we are all, universally close. But the idea of identity is this I and thou. So it's important that I don't know that who I am is not knowing everything else than what I know. Because it's the only way to be this identity and the only way to build up on identity and intelligences. And intelligences are the capacity to use data and information. So if you knew everything, could you even use it? Right? You have to maybe be focused. And that's why we have narrow biological progressions of evolution in certain ways where you're like, well, you're not really great at numbers, but you're a dang good kidney or something.
And if you wanted to look at it like the casserole of souls sort of idea, you could sort of like close loops within your own bodily lifetime and be like, okay, cool, I don't need that ingredient anymore because I closed the loop on all of those lessons, whether they be material or genetic or whatever. So you can just wipe
now,
that slate.
No, my question is do you have an idea or a compass of that when it happens? Like, does the achievement unlocked icon pop up like it does on Xbox?
I mean, some people even argue that like when you have a near-death experience, you are actually dying in another in an alternate dimension, and so that part of your consciousness is like it's gone, and now you're like in this new thing.
You become more powerful because it flows into you now that consciousness is dead. It's like
collapsing probabilities, exactly.
Yeah.
I guess the game keeps continuing. At one point you just let the ticker go all the way to 0, but then in this timeline the extra quarters were pumped in. So the game keeps going.
You could argue that like we're in like the like whatever the next gen thing is, and all the software that we're running is just reverse compatible. So we're playing on like a PS10, but we're going through like, okay, I only have enough like my brain only knows what a PS1 is right now, and then you're done with that, and then next
Right.
next sequel, next graphics, all that.
Really quickly, here is the video I was talking about. You don't descend from all your ancestors. It talks about how there's really only 2 options because there's only 4 possible solutions for adenine, thymine, thymine, adenine, right? And then cytosine, guanine, guanine, cytosine. There's only it's like 1001, it's a hexadecimal system of 4. And as you go back, the probability of your ancestor, you'd think that your base pairs are 31 billion, but your outweighed ancestors are 4.2 billion. How does it work? Well, really, you lose huge amounts of the data, like I was saying. And an example would be here in a second. Hold on.
I've seen you
Further
post this
along.
video. This was like an interesting fucking video. I was like, holy
Yeah.
shit, this is
Let's say you
crazy.
start out. Let's say you start with 2. Like Charles is a royal who's inbred, right? So let's take out his family are the same genes. You'd think theoretically he's just a clone, right? Well, if you look at it, Elizabeth has a separate lineage, slightly different enough. And even if you look at George V, who had the same lineage as his cousin, half of his data will be it won't be fully in the middle. You won't get an entire chunk of that string of data. So you're getting broken pieces of data, and as generations go on, you break up, and these are the yellow parts here are the only parts left by 4 generations ago. This huge amounts of his data is just gone, and then they start breaking it down until you get less than 1 pair left, and then 9 generations before Charles, 10 generations before Charles, there's literally, you can't even see any yellow left in terms of the data. By 13, 14, 15, he's just, that's all that's left of his data. It's just gone. So it's interesting how much you're not really descendant from all of your ancestors, right? And like how much you have to epigenetically probably in effort which genes are activated in your promoter sequences.
Damn.
And that's one to learn with, right?
Well,
Oh,
yeah.
and
That
one
just
to go on.
that just means that's. I mean, reinforcing the idea that patterns supersede everything. You know, we really are a slave. Patterns are really like the spirits and demons that ancient texts and scripture kind of reference as like ruling over us. I mean,
Yeah,
people
DNA
are
is
like
a pattern. DNA is a repetition.
exactly, or like something as like ubiquitous as like the changing seasons. Is that not a pattern, or is a day and night cycle not a pattern? Or the fact that we have to like eat poop and shave and do all that stuff, like we do all.
We
those
have
stuff
to
as
eat poop? I thought that was elective.
Yeah.
Listen, every time my driver gets gas, I make sure that he has the number sequence the same. So if he's getting $20 in gas, it better be 2020. Right? If it's $30, it's 3030. So
I
you better
feel
make
like
sure
I had a
those-
friend. I was thinking earlier about the Prince Harry using his grandmother's face to do drugs that he bought with his grandmother's face, and I knew an artist who used to make like money looking art with his face and stuff like that. I feel like that should be proliferated more. Like, not that we should make counterfeit currency, but just offer like cooler money first. Be like, do you really want a $20 bill, or wouldn't you rather have this bill with my face on it with like a dildo being held by Andrew Vega or something like that? It says Bat Monkey Customs. Something like that.
Alien
Then you could
stamps.
have collaborative money, right?
I feel like
you
I would
can
rather
collab with
have.
somebody, and it could be like you and somebody else's dollar. It's like the only one of its kind. You're
It's
like,
a
"Oh,
literal. It's
creating
like
this
it's the logic NFTs we're going for. You know what I mean? It's like, but this is like for real. Like, how are you
it's
gonna?
gotta be physical. Yeah, gotta
Yeah.
hold it in my hand.
Yeah, how are you gonna like? You could photocopy it, but that's not the same. Like, it's the real.
I need to
thing.
see the one
I mean,
of one
something-
certificate of authenticity.
Yeah, some things work like trading cards and comic books, or like first edition vinyl cuts kind of work like that too, right?
Yeah, don't try to sell it to me unless it's graded too. Right, that's a good point. Right. Yeah, it better be graded.
I think Neo is worried that I wasn't Mormoning up hard enough because I didn't say Happy Pioneer Day. Happy Pioneer Day! I don't know if you guys know what that is. Did you guys know it's Pioneer Day? I'll let you know.
Yep.
That's why. It wasn't that I had bad blood, Neo Drifter. It really wasn't. It's just that like that's not what these people understand. Although you're right, it would have been an amazing point to bring up Oregon Trail.
I love that game.
Oregon Trail, which if you look at Oregon Trail, the Mormon Trail is on one side and the Oregon Trail is on the other side, but it's literally the same trail. That they're going from Missouri after Joseph Smith is murdered, and they're making their way across west, and then on the south side, they ended up at, Deseret in Salt Lake City, Utah. But they also continued on. There were Mormons that didn't stop there, right? They weren't convinced that they had, and they continued, and they have the entire Mormon pioneers of all of Deseret that went to Southern California, and even in Northern California at first, Eureka, because they sent gold diggers there, right? So the Pioneer Day is a huge Mormon Utah thing where they talk about not being pirates, but being pioneers. And that's what they dress, right? It's kind of like a Puritan Day for other people. It's pretty cool. What do you guys think about pioneers?
It's a case of man versus nature. I really respect that kind of conflict because, first of all, I mean, it's not like you're out there abusing the weak. You're really abusing yourself by like contending with a force that's greater than you, and in doing so, you find yourself in all that poetic shit, yada yada yada. Anyway, who else wants to speak?
All my Deseret people are all like, "Yeah, bro, fireworks on deck." That's good. No, I agree with you though. I think the one thing that's interesting to me though is there's a push to say that Mormonism is American, and I was talking to people about that today, like patriotic, right? Because there are a lot of people like, oh, Mormons are like Boy Scouts, they're patriotic, and it's true to a fault. And I was trying to figure out how to say like this, it shouldn't be, and that's the problem. Like, it's not that Mormons are not American or un-American. It's that America and because what Bolivarians in Bolivia are American. Like, what can United States is just one idea in America, but
I'm American.
The Masonic agenda was very much against Mormonism to the point that they had to like leave the United States and go live in the desert, which is kind of cool. Like to try to survive on your own in the desert. That's pretty sweet.
Could I have a Mormon history question?
Yeah.
Okay, so they branched off and went down to Salt Lake City, but they were over there in the West. So wouldn't they have been spelunking in the caves?
Oh, yeah.
To find all of the Egyptian artifacts before the Smithsonian did in the early 1900s.
You know about the Mormon tunnels, right?
You can educate me now.
Dude, so if you go look up Mormon tunnels, you'll find pictures of them, but they have these huge compound systems all over Utah. And and they've got like fans and these like trucks, and I know some people that have been involved with building these, and there's nothing too weird about having like super giant blackwater tunnels that go deep into the side of a mountain. But if you've known what the Mormons have been through and like how many times people try to destroy everything they have, like you would probably literally the whole thing is just to keep records of their genealogy. Because I think it's so important to know, to make sure everyone's been baptized, that everyone goes back to Adam and Eve, or, the lineage of Jesus Christ.
The lineage is powerful, yeah. I got a question.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Mormons in sci-fi? Because when I see Mormons referenced in sci-fi, I think it's like the greatest fucking thing. Like one of my favorite sci-fi shows, The Expanse, references the Mormons in the greatest way.
Really?
How the Mormons had like this. First of all, they had like the biggest colony ship ever made to go on a one-way journey into uncharted space. And it was just so cool because like the interior of the ship had like an artificial blue sky, and they were like, these Mormons, they can't go anywhere without their precious blue sky. And I was like, that's awesome.
The Cobol in Battlestar Galactica was written by a Mormon. A lot of sci-fi is made by Mormons, and it's kind of connected. I think this idea of the Elohim, the plurality of God, or the Nephilim, that there's more to it than just the celestial source Yahweh. That there's like deities or gods or avatars or things like that. So the idea of Pleiadians, that's not far off. And like the 19th century sci-fi was really common. Utah had pretty interesting sci-fi. Brigham Young was against folklore in a weird way. He thought it was kind of a waste of time. So there's like a definite vacuum for 40, 50 years or so after the death of Joseph Smith until the death of Brigham Young, except for outside of Utah. And so Utah is the source of, the Mormonology, Mormonclature, like there's a way that we think of Mormonism. They think of Utah in the 1840s, but that's not really all of Utah. That's not really all of Mormonism. Mormonism started out as like a transhumanist socialist religion that pushed for Gnostic understanding of all of these different gods, gave women equal rights, had black people that were priests. Then it's I think another good reason to bring it up probably is just the assassination attempt of Trump, because Joseph Smith was running for president and was the first assassinated presidential candidate in U.S. history. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely connections there, but I don't know.
Well,
Those
here,
egos
listen,
got them Mormon genetics, yeah.
well, how about this? Okay, here's one. Here's one. How do you keep a Mormon from drinking all of your beer on a fishing trip?
You got to bring another Mormon.
Yes, that's exactly right. Take two.
I live this
Take
life.
two. Yes, absolutely. Accountability. That's what I say.
Well, also, like, I'm curious as to how like all those ancient traditions, like I guess like Vedic traditions, because they believe in like reincarnation, right? They believe in souls. I just wonder how they must feel about aliens too, because surely they must have like they must be intuitive enough to be like, oh yeah, you know, there's other beings out there in the skies beyond, you know, somewhere out there, and yeah.
Ancient aliens
They
is
do think
probably
that-
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you know, they believe that God created the aliens, and I would really love to interview one of those like CIA operatives who came from the church, because there is a lot of overlap there.
The Jesuits and the Vedics working together, Vance and Trump, the fact that he's, you know, married into Hinduism, but also is
Hell
into
yeah.
the Jesuits. Like, well, the Jesuits and the Vedics have both been accused of being kind of like the pre-Deuteronomists were considered kind of atheistic because they didn't anthropically look at God. They're like, well, there are anthropic deities, but that's below the, you know, the source, and source is something that's beyond, you know, anthropomorphic human-like form. But the Vedic thing, I think it's interesting that they're like Hare Krishnas are like Noel has said Hare Krishnas are behind Ancient Aliens. That a lot of the Hare Krishnas are pushing for Ancient Aliens as a conduit into Hare Krishnaism. So there definitely is a connection. The idea of the Gita, that there's these deities that are in the stars, the celestial bureaucracy, right? That is
Well, the old idea, the creator gods, they're still created, and even if they created us in some type of way, well, you guys, I'm a puppet. Somebody else just stitched me together. So
that's rough.
That's y'all's journey, not mine. I got another journey. It's called getting stuffed.
What do you think about aliens, Kurt? You could tell I was going to make you talk. It was funny.
I think the statistical probability of aliens existing is just so absurdly, astronomically high. They're out there. It's just like
higher than like Jack Black in the early 2000s. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Jack Black. We could talk about Jack Black.
Sorry, we'll do that in a minute. I didn't mean to talk. It was aliens first.
Okay. Well, I think they're out there. I think it's possible they know that we exist. But
you don't think they're running our society like they live or something?
No, I don't think they run our society. I mean, it's possible.
I think they have a hand in it. I think they do kind of bless key members of our species with certain things. Sometimes it's knowledge, sometimes it's extra capacity for compassion, sometimes it's like the key to enslaving the rest of the humanity. You know, I don't know. I feel like they got weird conflicting interests sometimes. Like I could imagine this like on a metaphysical level, you know.
This is kind of funny. HT thinks that the Mormons are the CIA. Well, this one's not one of ours. So, just to be fair, pointing that out. But
it's just like a modern day Pinkerton.
Yeah, that's the truth.
It's
that's
Pat.
The truth of it.
That's who it is. It's Pat.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that aliens are probably also a great way of just describing anything we're not allowed to understand. So I kind of wonder like how foreign. Like again, we're talking about Trump not like eating caviar or something else. There are probably castes of people that are so isolated from us that they don't consider our lifestyles relatable, right? And vice versa. And I think that if somebody is that powerful, they might even epigenetically evolve to an extent. And so this idea that there are superhumans or something even that have been groomed and have realized how to be treating humans like food and cattle. I mean, that's pretty similar to the idea of aliens. You know, the idea of the elite are alien, right?
Well, none of that is as terrifying as like the cataclysmic alien, like the Anunnaki with their flooding. You know, like apparently that's just something that works on a clock. You know, like apparently we're due, we're a little past due for a big old flood that's just gonna wipe us out. Like, yeah.
Except for like the dudes in charge, like maybe you have some. This is the David Icke thing. Have some alien blood in some humans, and then that makes them more susceptible for wireless transmission, and then they'll be the prophets when they arrive, right?
Yeah.
Well,
A
Yeah,
giant,
we're just domesticated.
yeah.
Oh, Jack Black, I just watched in Yo Gabba Gabba earlier. He's wonderful. People really don't get it. Like, it's like, how do you hold a guy accountable for his dumb friend forever? I just don't understand. I don't know why people have to hate on Jack Black. I don't know.
Well, he's an Epo baby, right? It wasn't his mom
Yeah. The whole the
Ah.
fake, the moon landing faking, and the fact that he was given like the he had the best research chemicals in the early 2000s. He had AMT when no one else did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm really jealous of you, like Midwest and West Coasters, because you guys are like so much closer to paranormal shit. I don't know what it is. It's something about it's something about that desert area.
It's true. All the East Coast ghost stories are like, and there was powdered baby hands on the back.
Yeah,
of
yeah.
The car.
Compared to like fucking out there, it's like it's the weirdest, wackiest shit out in the desert in California, and it's crazy. Like I want to go. I want to go out there just to like be around that.
You got to be careful in California for two reasons. One,
Well, you know about ley lines, right? Like those,
Yeah.
the magical grid.
Arizona and New Mexico. New Mexico is probably better for the ley lines. Oh, California has it too. Go to Shasta. What scares me about California, is like the Chinese police, because the Chinese police just arrest random people of any ethnicity apparently at this point. They have like secret police cars, which are, they have their own secret police stations, and then they'll go out in the street. They used to just bother Chinese nationals. They would go out in front of their house and put on sirens with their Audi police car that has Chinese writing on it, and then they would zip away real fast. But now they're just kidnapping people. The other is the Masonic police force, which Kamala Harris used to run, right? You know about this one.
shit.
Where they would just kidnap people, put them in this fake prison, and eventually people would find out that this was not real. This is like, well, I don't know, is it real or not, right? Kamala Harris's aides running an independent vigilante Masonic quote unquote police force. So California be wild in its own way.
Yeah.
jeez.
Damn, you're near some magical ass currents. Crazy.
Yeah,
I
maybe
mean,
that's not the same though. But I feel like the thing is California, like L.A., the idea that in the 19th century, right, it was a hellmouth, and then they did that invocation so they could broadcast from L.A. So it does. I mean, it's always been an occult place, right?
yeah. And also that airport or Mount Shasta, for example. I heard
Yeah.
Mount Shasta is another hotspot. That's a place where I'd love to go. If I could just yeah.
Supposedly under Mount Shasta is Telos, right? The Hollow Earth city. It's supposed to be where all the gold.
Oh shit. Yeah.
Why we have so much like pure gold that's just like exploded everywhere all over the coast. The idea is that there was a giant gold city, and that part of it still exists underground in Telos, and that people come out of the ground in like cloaks, and they're like handing out jewels and stuff to buy supplies, and they go back into the mountain.
Yeah, like realistically speaking, I'm thinking like maybe we are at a time where where weird things from like maybe ancient civilizations that have been buried underneath us for like a long time are just coming out. It's like, yeah, this is about that time where we got to like reveal ourselves and shit.
Well, how much does that have to deal with the frequency disruption of CERN? What is going on? Is that disrupting things in terms of the ground and making things happen faster than they're supposed to, or halting them?
Yeah, isn't that like a
Altogether.
thing? Isn't that a thing like Earth's spin slowed? It's like a thing I just read. Like it's the Earth's spinning slower than it's ever so. Yeah, okay, here it is. The core.
Well, I think I
is
was
slower
reading
than
the other day. There's a theory that every time CERN is fired up, it skips to another dimension. That then this world escapes some type of cataclysmic event, and it keeps jumping to the next one in order to make sure that the world that we're currently the part of doesn't end. But then all of a sudden we jump to another one, and then another one, and another one, as this one world is trying to escape its cataclysm.
And eventually we have to do that like all the time.
Well,
Until we're
amongst
living
all
in a
this,
bubble.
I think for me, it's just important I remain grateful. I think gratitude really does just make good things happen for the individual experience. I'm like, yeah, shit's fucked up, shit's trippy. There's like some probably malevolent metaphysical forces out there trying to like mess with us, enslave us, kill us, maybe. I don't know, do God knows what. But, at least if you could just find one thing to be thankful for, it could be the stupidest simple thing, like a cookie, a fresh baked cookie. That's it.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for texting the number 190 to what is the rest of that, Sam? I forget.
1902-804 804-375-5011. That's 804-375-5011. Every day from now until the 28th, the end of the 28th. So through
Everybody pull
Sunday.
out your phones. We're all doing this right now.
If
We're
we
doing
do it
this.
all, listen, if my calculations are correct, when this baby hits 80, no, I'm just kidding. Okay, so listen, my calculations are correct. If just a fraction of the audience would do this every day, we might have a shot. If everyone does it, we hack the planet.
Hack the planet. I've got this saved in my numbers now, and I've done it several times.
It gives you a fun little message too. It says thank you too.
So, yeah, thank you for voting for. Can't see it. Whatever. Thank you for voting for Sam Newsman. There you go. I voted for Sam Newsman. Guys, everybody vote for Sam Newsman. This is the only kind of democracy that actually works. News radio. Yep. Sam
I just
Newsman,
voted for
God
Sam
bless you.
Newsman.
Thousands of dollars being spent by the competition. The corporate media is spending thousands of dollars.
But only on blow and whores.
Well, yeah, and advertising so they can try to beat me. They're scared. They're running scared.
They're scared.
The puppet is nipping at their heels. Every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, WDCE 90.1 FM, setting the standard, raising the bar, the only way a real media puppet knows how to do.
That's beautiful. Kurt, you got anything you've been thinking about? Any dreams?
I don't know if I should dream.
You should dream. You should dream.
Should I?
Dreams are just recycled experiences.
I think that's kind of true. It's also hard to, my jaw, like my ear is like swelling into my jaw a little bit. I think it'll be all right in a couple of days, but it's just like, I'm at a weird spot in life, that's for sure.
Get some salt water, get some sunlight,
Mineral water.
Mineral water, bro. Drink some
Mineral water.
Drink that mineral water, bro.
There you
Drink
go.
that mineral water.
I'll get it. I'll get some water, that's for sure.
Salty mineral water will make you feel special. Andrew, what about you? Bat Monkey Customs.
No thoughts really. I've got baby brain. I've got like 2 brand new biomechanical transducers.
If you had to put your baby in the hands of a politician,
I'd choose
which one? Which one?
the gun. I'd choose
the gun. The gun. Yeah. That's fair.
Well, because it's like, anyways, never mind.
No, it's fair. I don't know. You could go deeper if you want. We could talk about how horrible all options are if you wanted to.
I mean, the one who is physically the strongest is like RFK, and that matters to me. Pull-ups matter to me. So.
Yeah. Tribe mentality. Hell's yeah. We're tribalists at
Send
heart.
Memory Man off the edge. Chris, what about you? Terrorist.
I'll say what I always say. I say make sure as an individual, to all of you kind folks listening, just try to be aligned in mind, body, and soul. If you could do that, where those 3 parts of yourself are not at war with each other, you'll be all right.
Yep.
Alignment.
I like that. Be a better version of you tomorrow than you were today. And be nice to people.
Yes. By drinking mineral water.
It's what we need.